Campus life as official classmates was surreal for Abbo and Musa. They shared morning lectures, late-night study sessions, and occasional glances across the room that said, "We made it." Musa wore his Makerere ID card with quiet pride, tapping it against his chest like a heartbeat. Abbo noticed the way people looked at him now, not as an ex-convict, but as a peer. "Feels different," he told her. "Like I finally belong." Their friendship deepened, shifting into something quieter but stronger. They didn't talk about love, they lived it. It was in the way Abbo saved him a seat, the way Musa carried both their bags on rainy days, the way they walked side by side, speaking less but understanding more. Love wasn't grand gestures anymore, it was a daily, deliberate choice. In one of their literature classes, they were asked to analyze a Luganda folk song about forbidden love. The discussion turned intense. "Can love save someone doomed?" a student asked. Musa's hand rose. "Love doesn't erase the doom, it helps you survive it." The room fell silent. The lecturer nodded. "That's not in the reading, but maybe it should be." Later, Abbo found him in the library, typing furiously. "What are you writing?" she asked. Musa smiled. "A short story. About a girl who lends her light to a boy made of shadows." Abbo's voice softened. "Sounds like someone I know." Musa didn't look up. "It's not fiction, Abbo." "Not really." She sat beside him and rested her head on his shoulder. "Then I hope it ends well." Trouble resurfaced in the form of Matovu's trial. After months of silence, he had finally been arrested following multiple testimonies, including Musa's. But being called to testify reopened wounds. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and tension. Musa took the stand in a trembling voice, recounting everything: his recruitment, the threats, the fear. Abbo sat in the front row, hands clasped tightly. When Musa finished, the judge nodded solemnly. "You're no longer part of the problem," he said. "You're part of the solution." Outside, reporters swarmed, and Musa said nothing. Only when they were alone did he whisper, "I feel like I buried a ghost today." Abbo hugged him and made space for something new. With Matovu behind bars, a weight lifted, but so did the curtain on a new reality. Musa was no longer anonymous. News outlets told his story, labeling him a reformed youth poet and ex-hustler turned student leader. Suddenly, strangers recognized him. "That's the guy from the news," they whispered. Some admired. Others judged. Musa wasn't sure how to navigate it. "Am I a story or a person now?" he asked Abbo. "You're both," she said. "But you get to decide who tells it." Together, they created a blog called Second Drafts, where Musa posted his poems and reflections, unfiltered. It became a safe place not just for him, but for others like him. One anonymous commenter wrote, "Your story gave me the courage to change mine." One crisp morning, as they walked across campus, Abbo stopped beneath a blooming flame tree. "I've been offered a scholarship," she said. "For post-grad. In Cape Town." Musa's smile faltered. "That's incredible." A long silence followed. "It's a full year," she added. "And far." He nodded slowly. "You have to go." "But what about us?" she whispered. He looked at her, eyes steady. "We've been through worse than distance. We'll write, we'll call, we'll wait. And when you come back, we'll build whatever's next." Tears welled up, but Abbo smiled. "You always know the right words." Musa shrugged. "I've been tutoring with the best." The weeks leading to Abbo's departure were bittersweet. Every moment felt like a countdown: last coffee at their favorite roadside cafe, last study session beneath the acacia tree, last stroll through Makerere's leafy walkways. Musa tried to be strong, but his silences grew longer, his eyes heavier. "Say something," Abbo said one evening. "Tell me how you feel." He looked at her and simply said, "I'm terrified. But I'm also proud. You're chasing your light, and I'll be here when you come back." They promised not to hold each other back. Love, they agreed, shouldn't clip wings, it should strengthen them. When the day came, Musa stood at the airport gate, a paper plane in his hand. "For the skies you're meant to fly," he whispered, placing it in hers. Cape Town greeted Abbo with sea winds and unfamiliar stars. She threw herself into her research, blending African literature with social justice frameworks. But even amid academic brilliance, she felt a Musa-shaped silence. They called weekly, sometimes daily, their laughter bridging thousands of miles. "Are you eating?" she'd ask. "Only when you remind me," he'd joke. Musa focused too, publishing more, mentoring youth, and launching a poetry radio segment called Voices from the Edge. But nights were hardest. He'd stare at her photo, rereading old messages. One evening, after a campus open mic, he performed a poem called "Distance Does Not Diminish Fire." Someone asked, "Is that about love?" He nodded. "Yes, and the girl who taught me how to write it." Back in Kampala, Musa was approached by a publishing house. They had seen his blog and radio work and offered him a deal to compile his journey into a memoir. "Your life can inspire thousands," the editor said. But Musa hesitated. "What if I'm not done living it yet?" Still, he accepted, on one condition: the book had to begin not with his mistakes, but with Abbo. He spent months writing in cafes, dorm rooms, and parks. He titled it "Chapters from a Second Chance." The dedication read, "To the girl who didn't save me, but showed me how to save myself." When he shared the manuscript with Abbo over video call, she cried, This is your masterpiece." He smiled. "No. We are." Abbo's teaching career flourished, and she was soon invited to speak at an international conference on African literature in Nairobi. The invitation was a dream come true, but it also meant another separation. Musa, though proud of her, couldn't ignore the pang of loneliness. "How do you do it?" he asked as they packed her bags. "How do you leave everything behind and go somewhere new?" Abbo looked at him with a tenderness that made her heart swell. "I don't leave everything behind. I carry you with me. You've become a part of every word I speak, every class I teach. You're in the stories I tell, Musa." He kissed her forehead gently. "Then we are both going places. Together." Nairobi was everything Abbo had hoped for: intellectual conversations, inspiring lecturers, and a deep dive into African diaspora literature. Yet, there was an emptiness that followed her through each session, a yearning for the man who had once been her tutor and now was her partner in every sense. She called him every night, sharing her discoveries, her frustrations, and her triumphs. "It's not the same without you," she admitted one evening. "I know," Musa replied. "But we'll make it work. You're writing a new chapter, and so am I. We both have stories to tell." As the weeks passed, Abbo found herself growing in ways she hadn't expected, both as an academic and as a woman. But no matter how far she went, Musa remained her anchor, the one person whose belief in her was unwavering. Abbo returned a year later, degrees in hand, heart pounding with uncertainty. Would Musa still be the same? Would they still be the same? When she landed, he was waiting, same smile, older eyes, a bouquet of wildflowers in hand. "Welcome home, Miss Future Professor," he said, wrapping her in the hug she had missed for months. They spent the next week catching up, slow walks, long talks, laughter like music. "I kept every poem," she said one night. "And I bought every book," he replied. They visited her mother, now proudly telling neighbors, "That's my daughter, and that's her boy." They rewrote their story. Even the streets that once whispered now nodded with quiet respect. Together again, they took on new challenges. Abbo accepted a teaching position at Makerere, and Musa began working full-time with youth reform programs, using literature as a bridge. One Saturday, he stood before a crowd of young boys in torn uniforms and tired eyes. "I was you once," he said. "But someone believed in me. So now I believe in you." That night, Abbo watched him from across the room as he prepared slides for a workshop. "You're not who I met in that prison classroom," she said. Musa looked up. "No." She shook her head. "You're more. You're becoming everything you were meant to be." He pulled her close. "And you're still my beginning." And in the quiet that followed, they knew this was only the end of the first volume. The months following Abbo's return were a whirlwind of work and new beginnings. She taught her first undergraduate class on African literature, inspiring students with stories of resilience and hope. Musa's youth program expanded, reaching even more communities, and soon, the local government approached him about partnering on a national campaign for youth education. Despite all their successes, both Abbo and Musa knew their journeys weren't without obstacles. One evening, after a long day, they sat on the balcony of their apartment, watching the sunset together. "What's next for us?" Abbo asked softly. Musa turned to her, eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. "Next is whatever we decide it is. We'll keep writing, keep teaching, and maybe one day, we'll write a new chapter, together." Abbo smiled. "Together. Always."